In March of 1985, Jennifer Lynn Anderson was 13 years old. Jennifer's day started out just like any other 13-year-old's does. Her mother woke her up from a deep sleep and told her that it was time to get ready for school. Jen complained loudly. "Mom, I was having a good dream. 5 more minutes?" "Not today, sweet pea. We're running late. Mama's alarm didn't go off, and now we only have 30 minutes to get your butt up, dressed, fed, and out the door to the school bus, so up and at 'em, girlie." Her mom leaned over her, mussed Jen's hair up, and kissed her on the forehead. Jen crawled out of bed and headed towards one of the 2 bathrooms that their 2-bedroom house in the country had. As she shuffled along, she heard her dad. "Hey, Jen. Good morning." And as he passed, he kissed her on top of her golden head. Both of Jen's parents had black hair, but Jen's hair was nearly tow-headed blonde, and she had deep blue eyes. Her parents both had brown. She often teased them, asking if they were ever going to tell her that she was adopted, but they assured her that her great-uncle on her father's side had the same blonde hair, and that Jen's mom had a cousin on her mother's side with the same blue eyes. Jen brushed her teeth, got dressed for school. No big choice to make there. A beige collared shirt, blue knee shorts, white socks, black Mary Janes. Jen had attended the same Catholic school since she was an infant, as her mom worked in the social work field for the church, and Jen was placed in the school's daycare. She knew all of the teachers and nuns. She knew every priest, Father McClanahan, Father O'Reilly, Father McDoherty, and she loved it there. She would likely graduate from high school there and move on to the university just 2 blocks down, St. Marguerite University. Jen made her way down the stairs and into the kitchen, where she grabbed a bowl and a spoon, the Wheaties box with Pete Rose on the box, and a carton of milk. She poured the cereal into the bowl and then the milk, and as she sat in the kitchen watching her mother feed Shaggy, their dog, and Wilma, their cat, she looked at the milk carton, which was facing away from her, and what she saw turned her blood cold. It read, "Missing, Catherine Goodman, born June 1972, blonde hair, blue eyes, last seen August 1972. And there was a drawing that they called an age progression. If you have any information, please call 1-555-727-8900. It was Jennifer's face. It was the shape of her eyes, the shape of her nose, the shape of her chin. It was her. Jen grabbed a pencil from her pencil box and a Post-it note off the counter behind her and quickly wrote the number down and shoved it into the pocket of her shorts. She shoved her chair back with such force that she nearly fell backwards, and the noise startled her mother. "My goodness, Jen, what's lit a fire under you this morning?" I have to go," said Jen, and she began to run towards the front door when she heard her father. "Stop right there, young lady." Jen froze. Did he know that she'd seen the carton? Was she in trouble? Shouldn't she just ask what was going on? What was going on? "Yeah, Daddy?" she replied, her back still turned to her father. "You don't leave without giving your mom and dad their—" And he scooped in and lifted her off the ground, burying his bearded face into her neck where it felt scratchy and rough. "Goodbye kisses." And Jen giggled. Jen's mom walked over. "Now, Charles, look at this child's hair," she said sweetly, as she patted her flyaways down and kissed her on her nose. "You have a good day, my love." "Okay," yelled Jen as she opened the door and jumped down the front stairs 2 at a time, just like every other day. "Bye." On that day, Jen took the bus to school and then walked the 2 blocks down to catch a city bus, which she took to the library. She remembered that there was a phone booth on the corner, and she immediately went to it, taking long strides, her breath uneven, her hands shaking, her legs feeling as if she were walking on air. She opened the door and stepped in and closed the door. The street noise was barely audible now, as she fumbled in her pocket to get the phone number and began to dial. A man answered on the other end, and Jen was suddenly struck with the weight of what she was doing. How could she be a missing child? That's not even possible. Why didn't she just show the card to her parents and have a good laugh at how much she looked like the rendering? Why did she jump to the conclusion that her parents, the people who love her the most, the people she loved the most, would be liars and kidnappers? She had no reason to believe that, and what about her grandparents? They were liars too? They were in on the stealing of a baby and hiding it from her real parents? What was she even doing right now? She was thinking, her mind racing. But there was also something nagging at her, something drawing her in this direction, something that she couldn't put her finger on. "Hello? Hello? Is anyone there?" she heard the man saying into the phone. "Yes, sir. My name is, well, I'd rather not say. I think I saw myself on the back of one of those milk cartons." She'd said the words. It was out now. There was no turning back. The man asked her where she was, and Jen told him the name of her city. The man said that her mother lived there as well, and that he would need to make arrangements for the two of them to connect. He was talking so quickly. Something about the news and a story, and how it was her biological grandmother that had reported her missing. How exciting this was. The need to know her address. Something about arresting her parents. Blood tests. It was too much to take in. In the end, Jen said no to everything except meeting this woman who could maybe, possibly, be her mother. Alone. No police or child protective services. No news. No blood tests. Or she wouldn't agree, and she would just hang up right now and never call again. The man said he'd see what he could do. Asked her what a good number to call would be. Jen squinted her eyes and read the barely legible numbers off the payphone. She told the man to call her there at the exact same time tomorrow, 9:32 a.m., no sooner. And she hung up. Her face was flushed. She felt sick in her stomach. What had she done? She couldn't tell her parents, but she knew that the school had probably called them by now. So she quickly called her mother and told her that she was in the school nurse's office. "Jen, the school said that you weren't there. We've been frantic. Are you okay?" "Yes, Mama. I'm just feeling sick. I was here. They must not have checked with the nurse. I'm fine. Can you come pick me up?" asked Jen, and her mother said she'd be there in 15 minutes. Jen looked down the street to see if another bus was coming, and there wasn't. So she began running towards the school as quickly as her legs would take her. By the time she arrived, she was hot and sweaty, her limbs shaking from the adrenaline rushing through her veins. She leaned against the wall in front of the school, trying to catch her breath, and just then her mother pulled up. "Oh, dear God, Jen, you look terrible. Your face is so red, sweetheart. You didn't say anything this morning about feeling bad." "I know, Mama. I was trying not to miss school. You know, I want to be on the honor roll, and Jennifer, get in the car, baby. I'm taking you home right now. I'll get a bath ready and set you out some clean pajamas. You'll go right to bed after the bath." She looked at her mother, her heart almost bursting with love. How could I do this to her? She wondered. And as she was looking, she also noticed how much she didn't look like her mother. Her mother was Italian and had an olive tint to her skin. She was beautiful. Her hair was long and silky and black, her eyes the deepest brown with flecks of gold scattered throughout. Jenny had pale skin and freckles. Her hair was the color of butter, her mom always said, and her eyes, deep blue like the Caribbean, her father told her. Jen was scared. The next day she told her mom that she was feeling better, and when she went down to get her cereal and milk, she noticed that the nearly full milk carton from yesterday was gone, and in its place a new one, with a new face, a boy's face on the back. She got on the school bus wondering if this would be the last time she left her house. What would happen if this stranger actually was her mother? Why hadn't she contacted the police about her daughter being taken or missing? So many questions. Jen got on the city bus, but this time she took a bus schedule with her when she got off, and she walked to the phone booth. 3 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was the man. "Honey, your mom is going to see you. I'll come get you. Tell me where you are." This scared Jen. "No, sir. Please tell me where she is. I'll go there. No social workers, no police, no news crews, or I won't go." Jen never thought she'd have her demands met, but they were. And 10 minutes later, Jen was on another bus, headed towards a woman who could be her mother. Her life could be changing. When the bus stopped, Jen looked around. This couldn't be the place. It was in the area of town where everyone knew not to go. There were abandoned factories and an old rickety mom-and-pop grocery store where the clerk gave her a squinty look of some sort when they made eye contact. There was a pharmacy with duct tape holding the front window together and cars missing all kinds of parts just sitting on the sides of the street. Jen looked at the paper with the address and found the building. It was brick, a walk-up. A few windows were open and some clothes were hanging out to dry in a couple of them. She could hear a man yelling and a baby crying. She slowly walked up the stairs. A man pushed past her, and she fell into the wall as he was rushing out of the building, yelling swear words. She thought that it was the same man she'd heard yelling. She came to a door, apartment 71, and stood there for a moment. She thought she heard music playing inside and the clanking of dishes. She knocked 3 quick knocks and was prepared to leave if no one answered the door in 5, 4, 3, 2, and the door opened. Before her stood a woman with long, messy blonde hair and eyes the color of the Caribbean Sea. Her face had pock marks from being picked at. Her arms had scabs. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her skin was limp and loose around her neck. Her fingernails bitten to the quick. She was rocking on her heels, rubbing her hands together and pulling on her earlobes. "Kitty cat?" she asked. Jennifer stood in the hallway and didn't reply to the strange question. "Is that you, kitty cat? My Kate?" Oh. Jen remembered that her name had been Catherine. She knew now, without any doubt, that this was her mother. She must have called her kitty cat. "Yes, I guess so, yeah," replied Jen as the woman put a bone-thin arm around her. They were bruised, and in the crook of her elbow there were scars. She ushered Jennifer into the apartment. It was sparse. An old couch, the print of the fabric so faded that she couldn't quite make it out, but it was a mustard yellow. 1 beach chair, and a crate for a coffee table. The woman turned off the music, a boombox, plugged into the wall, sitting on top of another, smaller crate. "Well, just look at you," said the woman while scratching in her neck. "Aren't you just the spitting image of me in my glory days?" And Jen had to admit that while she couldn't believe that this woman standing before her had glory days, that she was the spitting image of what she could have looked like. "Oh, I suppose you don't even know my name?" she asked Jen, and Jen told her that no, she didn't. "Well, around here, it's Marigold Flower, darling, but the name my mother gave me was Agnes. Plain old boring Agnes. You can probably imagine why I changed it, right? I mean, no man wants an Alice, you know what I'm saying, right? But a Marigold. When my name is announced, they sit up, you know. They're expecting to see a beauty, not an Agnes. Nobody named Agnes has ever made it big in show business. You know that too, right?" Jen didn't know, actually, and she didn't know what this woman was talking about. Jen didn't know much, but she did know that this woman was not in show business. The woman was jittery and jumpy. It made Jen nervous to watch her. "Oh, I have some treats for us," and she scurried. Yes, that's how Jen would describe this woman. A nervous rat who scurried off to the kitchen and brought back a block of cheese, a steak knife, and some saltines in individual packets like the kind you get at a restaurant. Jen figured that she'd stolen them from somewhere. Jen decided to start right in. How did I go missing? And Marigold, or Agnes, or whatever, replied, Now, darling, let's not get bogged down in those nasty details. What do you say? Let's talk about where we go from here. But Jen insisted. Why did your mother report me missing instead of you? Oh, it was her. Huh. Well, I can't say for sure why she did that, but now that we're here, let's talk business. Jen was confused. Who was this woman? She didn't seem to care one bit that her missing daughter was sitting on her nasty old couch after years of not seeing her. She didn't know who had reported her missing until after Jennifer told her. And what business? I don't understand, stuttered Jen. Honey, you and I can do quite well off this story. We'll sell it to the news. Maybe a book deal. Oh, a movie of the week even. I'll start it myself. She was scratching at the back of her neck, pulling on her collar, trembling as she spoke, her eyes darting all over Jen. Jennifer wanted to burst into tears. She hadn't had any idea what she was going to find, but even in her wildest dreams, she didn't think that it was going to be this monster. Listen, started Jennifer. I think I've made a mistake. I better get going. I'll be late, and the school has probably already called my mama and... Your mama? Your mama? I'm your mama. That woman you call mama said she was trying to help me. I'd gone to get myself some food from the food bank. She said she was a social worker and she'd give me a nice home and pretty clothes for me and my baby. But, well, she took so long. She didn't care about me. She just had me keep coming back so she could make me take one of those piss tests. I ain't no drug addict. I ain't no scum. She was raising her voice. She was rocking back and forth from her right foot to her left. Her back was stiff as she tugged her sleeves down, almost self-consciously. You understand what I'm saying? Even if I had done some drugs, so what? It's my body. I didn't do enough to hurt ya. But that woman began to look at me with disgust, like she was so much better than me. Her eyes looked wild. I came to her house one night after I birthed you, and I might have been partying a bit too much, but I didn't hurt you or nothing. I just needed some cash. I didn't have any formula or diapers, and you wouldn't stop crying. She asked how much money I wanted, and I said, like enough to give my girl some formula and diapers, maybe $200. And she lost it. She went mad crazy. And she told me that I should never have been a mother. If she couldn't have children, how could someone like me have kids? She acted like she was so much better than me, like I was trash or something. Who the hell was she to say something like that? You understand, right? And she glared at Jen, her eyes flaming, her body shaking. She began biting what little was left of her fingernails. Jen said, Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a mistake. And the woman slapped her across the face, suddenly and hard. Jen flinched, and her hand drew up to her cheek. Oh, I see. You think you're better than me. You think you're better than me. You came from me. You ain't better than me. That lady told me she'd give me $2,000 if I left you there, and that's a lot of money. I knew that I could quit that nasty pole club and get me some nice clothes, maybe get a movie job or something. You cannot blame me for trying to better myself. You do the same thing. And Jen's eyes were stinging now as she stood up. I have to go. You ain't going nowhere, girl. You are mine. That woman stole you from me, and now I get to make some money off what she did to me. What she did to you? Yelled Jen, this anger coming from deep within her. something she never knew was even in there. "You sold me for a couple of grand." "You won't talk back to me, girl," snarled the woman as she stumbled towards Jen. Jen grabbed the steak knife, and just as she had it straight out in front of her, the woman fell on it. Jen felt it go straight into her abdomen, and Jen twisted it hard. The woman fell onto the bare concrete floor at Jen's feet. Jen waited for a few minutes, looking around quickly, waiting for someone to come in. Surely someone had heard the fight. But there was nothing. She bent down to feel the woman's neck, and there was no pulse. Jen used her shirt to wipe off the handle of the blade before she checked the bus schedule and ran out of the apartment and back down the stairs she'd come up only 30 minutes or so ago. The bus came, and as Jen got on, she couldn't believe what had just happened. She didn't understand where that anger had come from. When she got to the library, she called home, and her mama answered the phone. "Where are you, Jen Bear?" she asked kindly. Jenny began crying. "Mama, I'm at the old library at that payphone on the corner." Her mother didn't even ask her why, but said she'd come get her. It was then that Jen noticed that her shirt had blood stains. Her white socks had blood spatters. Jen's mom picked her up. They drove home in silence, but when they pulled up into the driveway, her mother said, "Jen, there's a man in the house who says you might have called him from that payphone yesterday." Jen's heart froze. I, sputtered Jen. When they got out of the car, her mother took her hand and looked down at Jen's socks. When they walked to the door, her father was standing there as if waiting for them. Behind him, on the kitchen stool, a stranger who stood up. "Jennifer?" he asked. Just then her mom said, "Jen's not feeling well. You can ask the school. She was sick yesterday, too. Slept right here in her bed all day long. Jen, sweetie, go into the downstairs bathroom and get out of those clothes." Her mom looked up at her daddy and said, "She's been sick all over her shirt and socks." And Jen made eye contact with her mother and understood, and she quickly ran into the bathroom. Her mom brought her clean clothes, took the ones she'd been wearing and put them in a brown bag, and as she walked to the living room, she threw them in the fireplace before she walked back into the kitchen.